All right, so I'm going to put this on Do Not Disturb. All right, I'm at my mom's house, so it's a little more noisier in here than anywhere else that I record. So I'm just going through, see how far I can go. So today episode is going to be on perception. And before I talk about perception, I want to say that in my last episode meditation, I mentioned the Mars in retrograde 2020. And I said if I delete it, it's because I might not say it in these exact words, but it's in the exact same intent. And that was if I come across something that's awakening me, then I will delete it for growth purpose only. So I will talk about Mars in retrograde. Just redo the video. I deleted the other one. I just redo it since I gained, which I know I would, a whole different perspective and maturity, because I did feel like there was improvement with my that needed to be with my approach. So I'm gonna redo that video. I don't know when, but hopefully it'll be after this year or before this year end. Probably after, since that's the first thing I said. But in the meantime, I'm gonna drop other episodes, and this is all random. Like, I don't write down which episode I'm gonna do before I do the episode. I just go head in with everything. I'm trying to be more strategic though, which I am to an extent. I can improve is basically what I'm saying. So today episode, perception. What inspired this episode? Someone I grew up with, actually. His name is Austin. I've been knowing him since he was a kid. I'm a few years older than him. So he called yesterday and he wanted my opinion on something. And I don't usually give my opinion unless people ask me. And when people ask me, I still be kind of skeptical and conscious because the truth hurts. It really does. And I learned that through experience, through the pattern of experience of the matter rather. And so I told him off bat, I give you my opinion, but just know it's coming from experience. And I warned him, you might not like what I have to say. So, and I kind of just dragged it from that point on. Eventually, I did say something to him, because one thing about me, when someone communicates with me, I communicate back. I at least give you something rather than nothing when you communicate with me. So the topic was on, he called and said he had a fight at a church, his church in particular. And I'm like, oh goodness, another church situation. If I didn't experience enough or hear enough about the churches in this world. And so, anywho, the fight was over the Adam and Eve topic. And usually when people mention Adam and Eve, they mention Adam and Eve to talk about how the world has turned into what it turned today, or homosexuality. In this case, they was talking about homosexuality, which I'm going to do a whole separate episode on that, and heterosexuality. So I'm going to do 2 episodes. Don't hold me accountable of when, because like I said, none of this stuff is pre-planned. I go with the flow. So he went on to say that the guy, which a lot of people say, I'm not even surprised this came out of his mouth. He said the guy said that, of course, homosexuals are going to hell. And Austin got mad, and from there was a fight, according to Austin. And I was like, wow, I'm not surprised. A lot of people say that. But what I was surprised about, when he kept talking about the situation, he mentioned something that I never really seen before. And and within perspective. So he gave me a whole new perspective. He said, of course, he said he loved everybody and everybody should be treated equal. People who are gay, they still have human rights, basically, is what he was alluding to. And he said he had friends. That's why he got offended by what the guy said, because he have friends who are gay. But this is the highlight for me. It's when he said, love is in the Bible. Do not judge. Therefore, God have gay people on this earth to test us. You say you love everybody. You say you don't judge nobody. Well, here's a test for you. And when he put it like that, I was like, wow, I never looked at it like that. I never looked at it like that. Wow. And anybody, well, nobody don't know me, so let me not even say for anybody who know me, because people don't. I was amazed. I'm like, I'm an exclusive person. That's what I'm alluding to right now. So when you say something, I look at the bigger picture. I just don't look at one particular slice of a pie. I look at the whole pie. So when he said that, I'm like, and that goes for just not homosexuals, gay people, however you want to label them, because people fight and argue over the labels. You know what? With me, I don't even use the labels, because I don't mention the labels like that. I just say, when it comes to people and their sexuality preference, that's how I put it. So that's what I'm going to use, my terms, okay? I'm not going to use the world terms, okay? The world has its own, not the world, but the people within the world have their own separate terms. But I'm just going to use my terms. This is my podcast, so I'm going to use my terms. So people with different sexuality preference come with a test. Like every other person. We attest for everybody, just not a person of a different sexual preference. So when he said that, I was just amazed. And I'm not going to talk too much about sexual preference, because I'm not going to say homosexuality, gay people, LGBTQ plus community. I'm not going to use those labels, because to be quite frank, I'm going to save that for my other episode, which I mentioned a few minutes ago. So I'm not going to be repetitive and repeat it again and again and again, because I'm known to do that. But sometimes it's good to be repetitive, because it helps exercise your brain to remember what you're talking about and expand the conversation to a certain degree. So, yeah. I'm like, wow, that it truly is a testament. And it just, like I said, I'm exclusive. So it just made me look at everything. So I'm like, the drug addict is a testament. The murderer is a testament. No matter how you look at it, everything is a testament. Everything is a test. Everything. So he just really expanded my perspective even more on a deeper level. I deleted that Mars in retrograde episode before he called me with that. But that was like confirmation. Like, I'm not, no regrets. I deleted it. I'm not going to regret, because perspectives will increase. Mannerism will increase if you allow it. So when he said what he said, it just gave me a broader, not only perspective, but an outlet, an oversight of how I view things, just not within the world, but within the cosmos. So from here on out, for those who think they know me, you have no idea now. Just from that small, brief conversation, I gained so much. And I'm grateful for that conversation. I'm grateful for conversations overall, because conversations is supposed to stimulate your brain. It doesn't supposed to deteriorate. So if you're around someone who's not an enhancement for your perspective, then why are you around them? I leave that for you to question. Not question, yeah, for you to question. And also answer through experiencing if you have to. Some people have to experience before they examine. So that is what inspired me to title this episode Perspective. Now I might do another episode called Perspective on my joint podcast account with my cousin Mariana, called the Cree-Maury Exposure. So check that podcast out too. It's on the same platforms. You can also go on my Instagram at Krea, on my Facebook, Cree-Cree Vá'Tee official, and my Twitter is Krea. My Snapchat, well, I don't be on Snapchat, but my Snapchat is Krea Shannon. And for those who don't know how to spell my name, it's Creeyeh. I'm quite sure I'm the only person on social media with their username. Well, at least on Instagram I am. Someone got mad at me one day because I guess I didn't follow them or ignored them on social media, so they created a fake page on Facebook of me with a whole different person with a whole different ethnicity. It was creepy and hilarious at the same time, but I did expose them like, yeah, that is not tolerated. Not over here. It's not. And even within that little matter, that comes with perspective too. You know, I looked at that as identity theft. I take everything to the deepest matters that it can go. But it really is, if you look at it, to a certain extent, because it's really not identity theft. It's just a person going through their own identity crisis, rather. Because identity theft can get real deep, like taking people credit cards, social security numbers, like you just going all the way out with it. But anywho, that's what inspired me to do this episode, Perspective. And like I said, be on the lookout for me and Mariana, because we might do an episode on perspective, or it just might be a whole different episode. But like I said, just go on, stay updated. And if I don't put my usernames to my social media accounts on here, it's going to be on my YouTube at Cree-Cree Vá'Tee. That's my YouTube channel. Cree-Cree, Cree VA-TEE. So, and I'm quite sure I'm the only Cree-Cree Vá'Tee on YouTube as well. So when you look at the description, all my usernames is on there. So going on more deeper into perspective. What made me delete the Mars in retrograde video, of course, it has something to do with perspective. But also, I don't want to set an example that I can't live up to, if that makes any sense. So I don't want to tell people to handle certain matters in a certain way that I can't even handle. So I have to be more conscious and be more aware of how not only I approach myself, but what I say. Because sometimes I do find myself giving out advice and not taking my own advice. And not to sound boisterous or anything, but I give some pretty good advice. And it's it's crazy how I don't take my advice sometimes. Now, sometimes I do, but it needs to be all the time. So now when I communicate with people, I'm not only communicating with them just for the benefit of them, but also for the benefit of me as well. So it's just to be mindful, and that comes with perception. Perception is dealing with being mindful. Be mindful of yourself before you could be mindful of anything else. And while I'm at it, I'm going to see if I have any notes. I'm a hoarder when it comes to notes. I take a lot of notes and just store it all up and never use it. And I'm like, I might as well not dispose it, but like just put it out there for the public, because if it helped me, I'm quite sure it will help someone else too. So I don't want to be selfish. Oh, if y'all heard somebody in the background, that's my brother. He have autism, by the way. So I'm definitely going to be doing an episode on autism and my experience with it, being that my brother have it. So let me see. How can I go in my notes? So hold on just a moment. Well, I can continue to talk to y'all. This is cool. I can go through my notes and stuff. Another thing while I'm at it that I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be doing PowerPoints and stuff, but that's going to be on my YouTube channel, Cree-Cree Vá'Tee. So if you want to see PowerPoints, I might even do visuals. So I'm going to be doing a lot. Let me make sure this didn't pause. Okay, it's still saying it's in progress. So, mongering, mysticism. Okay, so I'm looking at a lot of stuff and I don't see nothing on perspective. But I do see something on the mind. Oh, that's another topic. I'll get to that later. I'm from St. Louis, Missouri, for those who didn't know. So Chingy is very known here. If you mention Chingy, I'm quite sure a lot of people gonna know who he is. So Chingy mentioned perspective, and he was talking about it in education matters. And he mentioned that perspective is one of the first things that people change. And when I say people, I'm talking higher ups, elites, people that have the power to manipulate or corroborate or have some type of stimulation of the minds of the young people. Because if you want to change the future, you tap into the young people minds, because the young people are going to be more acceptable at a deception before the grown folks will. But here's the twist to that. Some grown folks are already done for. I have met 40, 50, 60-year-olds that are out of it mentally, and it's just not fully stable and it's fixed in their corruption. Like, they would try to use their old tricks, methods, whatever terminology you want to use to describe their fixated mindset that they have. For example, I'm going to try to give an example. Have you ever tried to do something for us like, oh, I want to be a baseball player? Your parents or friend or just someone near you just say, that's a one in a lifetime chance. You might not. I wouldn't give my hopes up, put all my eggs in one basket. Go look for something else, have a backup plan. People that say that never tried themselves to go for their own goals, their own manifestations when it comes to their dreams. And here's my thing about dreams. Don't dream for too long. Just because dreams lead you in other dimensions doesn't mean it's permanent. So you have to be mindful that you should turn your dreams to reality. Just don't sleep on your dreams. Wake up and make your dreams a reality is basically what I'm saying. So back to what I was saying. People would tell you not to do something because they don't see themselves doing it. And that's a prime example of a fixated mind of older people. Like, should have got something to drink. But some people would get, I know in my case, some people have gotten disturbed with me. It's like, why you do this that way? That ain't how you do this. No, that ain't how you did it. And it didn't work for you. But just because it didn't work for you doesn't mean it's not going to work for me. So I'm very conscious and aware of the conversations I have with people and the reasonings behind the conversation, because that's what it all boils down to. Reasoning. What is your reasoning? What is your intent? And it all traces back to perception. Perception is really the master key to opening up your comprehension, your point of view of life. Without perception, you have deception. You have someone else's way instead of your own way. And we are all my brother is laughing his butt off. We are all individuals for a reason. We are not glued to one another. We are not attached to one another. Connection and attachment is two different things. So there's a reason why we individuals. There's a reason why we have our own path and not a combined path. We wasn't born attached to someone else. So even I have to be mindful. This is my way. And just because it's my way doesn't mean it have to be your way. And it's like that with religion, with spirituality, with all that, which I know I've been saying for a minute now that I was going to do episodes on that. But it's like timing is everything. I posted on Instagram recently, yesterday, if I'm not mistaken. Timing is everything. So I'm just waiting for the perfect moment. It's not even just necessarily waiting, just awakening to that very moment, whatever that moment may come. But until then, perception is what I'm talking about now. So I just mention all that to highlight the fact that perception really do open the door for you to look at things from a higher view, from a bird's eye view. And when you can tell when you're around someone who's awakening or when you're around someone who's still asleep. Because when you're around someone asleep, they can only see things their way and their way only. But when you're around someone who's awakening, they not only see things from their perspective, they see things from other people's perspective. And they look at the other possibilities there may be. And they make a profounded conclusion out of it. That way they can have a sound mind rather than having every other mind but their own mind. So perception is really a master key. Is it the master key of all keys? Logically, there's other aspects. There's other terminology. There's other things that can stand up with perception, like intuition, like the omnipresent of the Almighty. You have different varieties of terms that you can use to say which is one is greater, which did. But perception definitely shows itself within many patterns that not only I have, but a lot of people around me have in life, displayed to the world, basically. So, yeah, just be very mindful of the conversations, of the things that's posed, and not only mindful, but comprehend and be alerted of the reasoning. Why people say what they say. That's part of the reason why I had to check myself about a lot of things this year. And not only this year, but just even in the past years. It's like, why did I say this? Why did I operate like that? Why did I do this that way? And of course, I got all my answers. And now that I got all my answers, I need to apply those answers into improvement within my perception. And there's no limit to growth. You're going to be growing into the end of time. Just in the meantime, you take what you're getting now, and you prosper from that. You rise from that. And that's what I'm doing. That's like a note to myself. Build on what you already got. Don't go looking for more when you already have something in front of you. Create. And note to self. But yeah, so this might be one of the shortest episodes I do. But before I leave, I'm going to just talk a little bit more about it. And then I'll be done. But yeah, so I'm going to talk about my growth with social media right quick. Because perception can be developed. See, when I was growing up, I'm pre-internet. I can say that because although I was born in 1996, I never got on social media until I was 17, literally. I grew up low class. I wasn't middle class. I wasn't high class. I was literally the lowest of the lowest. Born and raised in the low class. So didn't grow up from money, from riches to none of that. Silver spoons, gold spoons, glitter spoons, and any type of spoon of that matter. Okay, plastic spoons, of course, and whatever. Yeah, etc., etc. Anywho, before I get to rambling. My perspective on social media is I started off not posting like that. I would post every now and then. What made me start posting a lot on social media is one day I had posted a video of Escape, the R&B group, of them singing live. And I got like 300 some views. I'm like, wow, people mysteriously just tuned in. Because I didn't have a lot of followers on Instagram in particular. That is like the main highlight of my social media experience is Instagram. So I was on there posting every now and then until I got like 300 some views. I'm like, wow, okay, people they like when I post music. So that's what I did every now and then. It wasn't until I came across learning about certain artists that just done snake things behind the scenes that I didn't like. And I started exposing them and stuff like that on social media that I got like a lot of followers. I'm like, wow, so people like when I'm negative. Wow. That's how I look at it now. But then I looked at it, I'm just expressing myself. Okay, so people like when I express myself. That's cool, but I'm still do me. So having a lot of followers didn't really motivate me to keep posting like that, because if that was the case, I'll probably have like 1 million followers by now. I wouldn't even say 100, 1 million. I said 100. I'm pushing it. 1 million, but probably in the 100K range, like from 5K, 500K, something like that range. But a blogger basically. And I'm like, no, that's not for me. So I had my little rants, caught myself exposing people, mad because I didn't like certain things about certain artists and stuff like that. So that lasts for like almost 2 years. Clearly I was younger than I am now. Like 2019, probably 21. And it was just, before I went through my spiritual experience, that's when I let that go. I'm like, it just became useless to me. I'm like, I'm not going to keep... People still going to support these artists. They don't care what these artists do. These artists could abuse a baby and still be praised. Like, the industry is sickening, okay? But here's the thing. The industry is just a microscope of what goes on within the cosmos. So, that's all. I wouldn't isolate the industry and say it's any different from the streets, because it's really not. If anything, the elites that run the industry got their techniques from the streets. But that's a different topic for when I talk about the industry, which little experience I have now, because I've never been a part of it. I just been the outsider looking in the audience. It's like being in a movie theater, watching a movie. You can see the murderer behind the victim before the victim see the murderer, and you like, get them, like, run, they right there. Or you could be the villain within the audience, rooting for the villain that's in the movie, like, get him, kill him. Or you can be the sorrowful one in the audience, like, oh no, the victim, poor victim, run. It all depends on the person's mindset. But anywho, yeah, I'm on the outside looking in, just in the audience, like, yeah, I don't see this villain. That was my perspective when I first was introduced to social media. The only social media platform that I really liked and wanted to be on was Twitter, and still is to this day. Twitter is still my favorite social media platform, and that was the first platform that I got. I never was interested in Facebook until I found out my relatives is on social media. On Facebook, to be exact. And I was like, oh, okay, that's pretty cool. That's pretty awesome. I guess I get on Facebook, catch up with them. And I don't even talk to them. That's the crazy part about it. I can talk more about that when I talk about anxiety. I know y'all get tired of me saying that. Like, you always talking about you're going to talk about this and you ain't talked about none of that yet. Bear with me. That's all I can say. Bear with me. But expect greater things from me, being that my perspective is constantly enhancing throughout my experience. And yeah, this is definitely the start of something greater. And I'm glad I had that conversation with him yesterday, because the conversation was much needed. And I didn't even look at it like that, because when he called, I'm like, oh, I don't feel like talking to nobody. But I just got over that feeling and answered the phone anyway. And I'm like, wow, look at that. I didn't even feel like talking, and just gained a whole different outlook of my perspective just from having a conversation with him. So thank you, Austin. I'm going to show him this episode too, because he did say, tell someone about it. Well, he said, bishop, tell the bishop about it. But here's the thing. Everybody, I won't say everybody. Okay, how can I say this? I've learned through experience, this is coming from experience, to not tell people certain things, because a lot of people can feel like belittled or feel like I'm trying to run them, tell them what to do, how to do what they do. And that's not my department. That's not my style. That's not my flavor. I want no part of that. So he can tell the bishop, because he was like, tell the bishop so he can preach about it. I'm like, oh, whoa. So, yeah, he can tell the bishop. I ain't telling nobody nothing, because the first thing a person gonna say is, ain't nobody gonna tell me what to do. It ain't about people telling you what to do. But to each his own, because maybe it can in certain cases. But I just don't tell people stuff like that. Like, no. If it's meant for you, the same message that was given to me would travel to you if it was meant for you. So that's how I'm going to look at that. because the message traveled to me yesterday and I answered that phone. So that means it was meant for me to hear that. And now I have a whole different perspective, not just on people and their sexuality preference, but just people in general, souls in general. I want to say souls instead of people. Just souls in general. I have a whole different outlook. So I say all that to say perspective can change within a blink of an eye. It really can. All it takes is just one conversation, one experience, one glance, one chance at something. You just never know. But one thing you can know for certain is to always be willing to be open and not closed-minded. I feel sorry for closed-minded people because they're missing out on so much enlightenment by having a fixated mind to a certain degree. Because one thing I want to say, it's okay to have core aspects about you, but make sure you have flexibility to balance out your coreness. I learned that through communicate. No, that was not the class. That was not the course. There was a course I took in college. The name is not coming to my mind, but the description is. So the course was about international communication and international interaction with other cultures. And that also gave me a broader perspective. I needed that class because without that class, I wouldn't know about high context, low context. I wouldn't know anything outside of this country that I'm in called America, aka colonized. Because that's not the original name of this land. Ooh, y'all already know what I'm gonna say. But I'm gonna talk about that in a whole different episode. But yeah, so yeah, I'm learning to be grateful for what I got and embrace myself for more. Just not with perspective, but just within anything, within this lifetime of mine that was given to me. So yeah, don't be closed-minded. For those out there listening, don't be closed-minded because you're going to be missing out on some beautiful things in life. And I'm definitely going to be open to communicating with people more because I learn in a lot of ways, just not in one particular way. That's another thing about me. I just don't accept one way of learning. Life and knowledge within itself is too large for that. Can't even measure that. So I'm open to learn whatever there is for me to learn. So I'm definitely like I want to say this before I leave. When I talked about when I was younger, not younger, I can even say that 2 days ago, I would be if somebody was to ask me, what is your take on heterosexuality, homosexuality, just sexuality in general, I wouldn't give them a profound answer because I'm not going to even say am. I was clueless 2 days ago. All it took was one day, which was yesterday. And just to hear him say that, now I can go on for hours talking about my perspective now just from that small conversation. And it's like, wow, now I have a full description, a full conclusion, a full just fullness overall, a profound answer to give out. So if someone was to ask me about sexuality overall, I can explain it just from that small conversation because we didn't talk for that long. Plus my phone was dying at the time that he called. But I still was like, I can at least get a few words in. But those few words alone changed my life overall. And I don't know if I told y'all before, but every time I learn something, I'm going to share it with you all. I'm not going to be selfish and just keep it all for myself. Because what I'm learning could also enhance someone else. So I don't want to be selfish. I want to continue to grow. And I want those who in tune with me to grow with me. We can all grow together. And if growing can potentially make us better, then I'm all for it. I'm all for it. So until next time, I'm out. There's really nothing else to say. I'm just grateful y'all listened, and just I hope y'all have learned something from this, because I'm learning as I'm speaking now. So yeah, and I'm going to continue to learn. So peace.